What is going on, everyone? Ruse here, and welcome back to the channel. So I finally want to go ahead and make my own video talking about Resin, pretty much just state of the game and what they need to do to fix Resin, because as everyone is talking about, Resin is a giant problem. So for those of you that don't know, Resin is a resource that is used to farm practically everything in the game when it comes to money, XP, and just artifacts and gear in general. If you want to upgrade your talents, it costs Resin. If you want to level up a new character you just pulled and you're at a point in the game where you have no quests and your chests are barely respawning, you need to spend Resin. So everything in this game right now, especially for players that are like AR 30, 35 and up, all of that, you are pretty much locked behind the resource called Resin. So it is a decently frustrating thing to go through when you need AR and that's one of your resources when you're done with your dailies and everything, or you just need gear to progress in the abyss. You want to farm a new set, maybe test something, especially in my case where I do a lot of content on my channel based around certain characters. But if I end up pulling a new character and I really want to invest in them and see what they can do, or even make a new build, I cannot, due to the fact that I have to rely on the RNG of this game and the Resin cost. Now, while yes, most of the game is designed up to AR 30, so there are people that are pretty much going past that because there's no more story quests and want to do other things in the game. It's pretty much extra. There's a lot of us that enjoy playing the game more and doing things like Abyss as a challenge and making new builds. So, of course, you can always argue that there's plenty of content for the game in that you don't really have to worry about these problems if you just wait for the next update or so. But there is stuff that players may want to achieve, and this whole Resin system in general is just stopping us. And yes, while you're able to spend money if you want to and use your resource that you also have to use on pulling in this game to get more Resin, and it increases in price every time, for the people that don't spend their gems on this, like me, it's really just frustrating because I can only do a few runs and really have to plan out what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis to upgrade certain characters, and it's not something that is very fun at all. And I think there's a lot of things that the devs in general can do to make this a lot less painful for everyone in general, while keeping a similar system on allowing those that want to end up paying gems to somewhat still speed along progress and get more AR or whatever they're using the Resin for. And I know the entire argument with people saying Resin's pretty much pay to win or it's not pay to win. I see both sides of the argument. In either way, if you are someone that has been spending your Resin every day and then recapping it every single day, you're gonna be a way higher AR and you're gonna have way more resources than people that don't. An extra 300 Resin a day is a ridiculous amount, and having 400 Resin a day at your disposal, while unrealistic and most people aren't doing that, for those that are, have a ridiculous amount of resources more. The game, I don't see, is pay to win either way. Like, if you really care about the state of the game and what your team is doing, you're most likely pulling for weapons anyways instead of trying to rely on RNG of a character. So in that case, like, it doesn't really matter if it's pay to win or not. Spending money on the game in any way, in any gacha game, is practically a pay to win situation compared to someone that isn't. It's all RNG in the end, and the whole Resin system, I think, just needs a change. So with all the gating situations that we have with Resin in general, I do just want to go ahead and put out my thoughts on how they should be fixing it. I know they're increasing the cap to 160 and there's talks about a fragile Resin a day, but all of these things don't address the main issues with Resin design. With such a long recharge time per Resin, it's very hard to get anything done in the game, and with everything costing so much Resin, or even costing Resin in general, it just makes it impossible for us to do things. So with the talk of Resin out of the way, and even just thinking about the 160 increase barely doing anything, and even if they give us fragile Resin, sure, it gives us some more to work with and it's always welcome, but it's not the step that I think the devs need to make towards fixing it. if they kept the cost at 120 and reduced the time to like 4 minutes, I think it'd end up being a way better change. Maybe doing things to let us get fragile resin in game and craft it, that would be another nice change. But with all of that out of the way, I just want to talk about what I think could be a really good rework to the entire system in general to fix everything. So my actual really big idea about reworking the resin system comes to removing the resin cost from a lot of the things in the game. And I know a lot of people are probably going to end up thinking like, well, they're not going to do that because the whole point of resin is to also have some type of monetization behind it. And while it's true, there's still ways to do it with removing the cost from the things. So I was mainly thinking things like ley lines that end up costing resin and have a decently small reward can end up being time gated onto like a hourly thing. So for example, making these ley lines and having a timer behind it. Once you complete the ley line, it ends up actually going on a cooldown instead, and if you want, you can end up spending the 20 resin, for example, to reset the cooldown and do it again. This way, players end up having more things to do besides just dailies at that point and spending their daily amount of resin, and it'll allow players to keep logging in to keep progressing in the game. And for those that want to speed up their progression, can end up spending their resin on making it available again now. So it allows those that do enjoy like speeding up their progression and want to farm a specific thing, they can spend their resin on it. But for those that just play the game, over time can end up generating resources and level their characters and such, or they'll have the extra money. They could do this by making it so you could only choose between one ley line and then have it go on cooldown for like 2 hours. And this allows you to go ahead and do things instead of just spending all your resin on just these resources instead. It'd be something like doing your dailies, getting your ley line done, then exploring for a couple hours and realizing, hey, my ley line's off cooldown and I could do this again for extra resources. I also thought about doing the same thing with world bosses as well. I very rarely find myself ever doing these world bosses unless I have a character I specifically want to level at the time because they cost so much resin. It takes me a lot of runs to be able to get one of my characters uncapped. For example, my Razor at this point, needing these gemstones, it's probably going to take me a couple of days of farming, and being able to do it only 3 times a day, it's most likely going to take me at least a week, if not more, based on my RNG to get the uncapped materials I need for him. Same thing with my other characters. After using some fragile resin, it took me 2 days to get the uncap I needed for my Razor, and now I'm going to have to do that for a lot more characters. So instead, if they ended up putting the world bosses on a, for example, maybe even a separate cooldown if they don't want to end up sharing them, or putting all the bosses on a shared cooldown on a lower timer, maybe like every hour you can do every boss, or the bosses on a hour cooldown, so you kill one and then in an hour you could choose a different one, and then being able to reset it, or even putting all the bosses separately on like a 4-hour cooldown, a 3-hour cooldown, and then being able to spend this 40 resin to reset it immediately kind of thing, will ended up leaving the resin cost in the game but making it way more accessible for everybody. This would make it a lot better for people as well. For example, when I'm spending my fragile resin and I'm getting these blue shards when I need purple, if it's just on a cooldown, I'll be like, cool, I got these rewards. Oh, maybe I got a 5-star artifact that's really good and I'm happy that I got it, and now I could go ahead and do this in a couple hours. Or man, I really want to farm this right now, I could spend some resin, and then in the same case that the people that are spending extra resources on resin anyways, they can end up just spamming something way more. Personally, I think they should just leave resin costs for things such as weekly bosses, something that's really big and gives you a lot of resources, or the domains. These things already have a lot of RNG factors into it, and it feels really bad for me when I have to decide, do I feel like only investing one character right now and doing this talent that changes every day and farming this one out, except for on Sundays? Or having decided if I want to farm a set. I've really been farming the set and I want to see if I can get at least one good piece. Oh, I didn't get any for the day. Now I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow. Oh, it's still not going fortunate for me. Oh, I need XP now. Oh, I have no money, and now I have to decide really what do I need at the moment. Most of the time when you're out of money, you have to do this no matter what. everything in this game costs money, so when your resin is gone, you just feel horrible since you can't do this. I think reworking the system in this way and making it so bosses are on cooldowns and you could reset the cooldowns, and the same thing with ley lines, putting them on like a 2-hour, 3-hour cooldown, or even like a 1-hour cooldown, and they're shared, and being able to reset it yourself with resin would be much better. It gives players more reasons to keep playing the game, and overall it just increases how much they could do per day. It'd be a great way to get people to come back and play more often as well. So I think just changing it to this type of system would work really well. They could even, if they wanted to, change it to be region based, where you have different ley lines in different regions and each one is linked together. So if you do the one in Mondstadt, these are linked together and you could choose which one you want to do. If you want to reset the one in Mondstadt, you can spend resin. This one goes on a 1-hour cooldown or 2-hour cooldown for the shared cooldown. Then you could go over here and do the one in this location. You choose which one you want, and then this one goes on a 2-hour cooldown. This way, it'd be separate resources for all the regions, and as more regions get added into the game, it adds more farming options for the players that are progressing through the game. They can also do a lot of other things as well, such as giving you more resin every world level you get. So for like 20 resin for every world level increase, or 10, 15, whatever they end up deciding. One of the big things as well is I think they just need to reduce this timer. 8 minutes, such a long time. I think I said 7 earlier. It's 8 minutes. Making that 5 would be a big change. That increases how much you could do in a day. It would make it so I don't have to wait pretty much every single day to do something and then log off. Overall, it's just a lot more resources if they change it to any of these options, really. I personally think the whole timer based system and being able to reset it with resin would be nice, and then just leaving resin to a weekly boss / artifact resource or domain resource would be the best. But let me know what you guys think. I think everyone in the community really needs to express different opinions and tell the devs what ideas they should be doing. There's too many people that are just complaining about the resin and not giving any just thoughts on how to fix it. This was just my idea and what I was thinking on what they could do to fix the resin system. So let me know what you guys think. I really want to see what people could come up with as well. Hopefully the devs can end up taking some things from some people and just making a really nice system overall. So that's about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry a little bit on the quality of it. I do have some really bad allergies right now, but I still wanted to upload something and express my opinion in general on resin. If you enjoy these type of videos, let me know. I do enjoy talking about the state of the game in general and these types of things. So just let me know. Leave a like, subscribe for more content and guides, just stuff on Genshin in general. And I will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much.